So we'll turn the radio on. We click the volume knob on. Boots up. Shows that the battery's working, communicating correctly, and here we are. This is the main screen. And I currently have the DMR repeater here selected, and if I turn the channel selection knob, we get the different talk groups. It displays channel there, but it's just what it names it. These talk groups are programmed into channels in the radio's memory. So you can see the talk group that our local repeater is subscribed to. Oops. When you turn the volume knob, you get a little volume meter there. I don't know why our talk group here our repeater here in New Brunswick is subscribed to Ontario, Quebec, Manitoba, Alberta, there's New Brunswick, British Columbia. I'm not sure why our repeater is subscribed to those, but it's all available, whatever the owner of the repeater wishes to do. Our repeater is owned by an individual. Local, I believe, means that when I transmit, I'm only heard on our local repeater. Earlier today, there was a lot of communications going on. We'll see while I have this turned on if anybody else comes on. It's about 25 minutes to midnight here right now, so I'm sure there are parts of the world, well, I know in the West United States, it's only, I don't know, 8 or 9 o'clock right now, so I'm sure we'll hear some people on the air, hopefully in this video. I do want to make a transmission as well. I've actually never transmitted on DMR yet. I've had this radio for quite a while, and never transmitted on it yet. As a matter of fact, a friend of mine, another student, beat me to it. Earlier this month, I volunteered to help with Jamboree on the Air, which is an amateur radio event for Scouts, Boy Scouts, Girl Scouts. We had a few of them come to the school. And while I was absent from the room, and this radio was set up in the room to use, I was absent doing something else, and a friend of mine came on and decided to throw out his call sign, and he actually got a response. So he beat me to using DMR for the first time. That was pretty cool that he got to do that, but I haven't done it yet, so hopefully we'll do that on video. Something I'm going to do for this video at least is set it so that the lights never turn off. So if we press OK here, we go to the menu, and I'm going to go to, I'll turn the brightness down too so it'll be easier to read. Radio settings, display, brightness. That's a bit better. That looks good. Backlight timer. Yeah, backlight timer. Infinite. Alright, so the backlight will never turn off, which will of course suck your battery down a bit faster. We just press back to get out of that. Now I'm going to explain something that just kind of an odd phenomenon with DMR, but it makes sense once you learn what's going on. But something I wanted to learn what was happening, and something the owner of the radio wanted to learn about if I could find information about it. And I'll explain it in this this phenomenon here right now. You can see I'm tuned to the worldwide group right now, but you may find, whether or not it happens in this video I don't know, but you may find that I'll be tuned to worldwide, and then all of a sudden I'll hear a transmission coming from North America. So the North America talk group, which on this radio is programmed into channel 4, you'll find sometimes you're tuned into a particular talk group, and then you'll start hearing traffic from another talk group. And you'll know it's from another talk group because the radio displays what talk group you're hearing. Yeah, you'll find that you'll be tuned to a talk group, and then just out of nowhere you'll be hearing traffic from another talk group, and there's a reason for that. Moto Turbo, the Moto Turbo variant of DMR, is a TDMA transmission method. TDMA stands for Time Division Multiple Access. TDMA was actually used for the first generation of digital cellular phone communications here in North America. Before CDMA and GSM became popular, there was TDMA. Time Division Multiple Access. A DMR-MARC repeater can transmit on two what are called time slots. So you'll have talk groups. Some talk groups are assigned to one time slot, and other talk groups are assigned to another time slot. And what happens is whenever a DMR repeater transmits, and actually the radios as well, because the radios are also capable of this TDMA transmission, is the actual transmit is divided between the two time slots, and it switches back and forth very quickly. So when you transmit, it goes very quickly, time slot 1, time slot 2, back and forth between them very quickly. Time division. And the multiple access part means that because there's a division very quickly between two time slots alternating back and forth, the device can actually transmit two different streams of communication at the same time on the same frequency by alternating very quickly between these two time slots. So what happens is some of the talk groups that our particular repeater is subscribed to operate on time slot 1, whereas other talk groups operate on time slot 2. So what's happening is if, for example, worldwide English, and North America, they're all on time slot 1. So what happens is if I start transmitting on worldwide, I'm using time slot 1, and time slot 1 cannot be used for anything else until I stop transmitting. So if somebody's transmitting on worldwide and I'm hearing it on this radio, if I tune to North America, I cannot transmit on North America because North America uses the same time slot. And that time slot's being used, so it's not available for use. So as long as some talk groups are on the same time slot, I can be tuned to one talk group and I am able to hear any traffic from any talk group on the same time slot. So whenever you're tuned to a particular talk group, you may hear traffic from another talk group that's on the same time slot. And because it's on the same time slot, if I'm hearing something on worldwide and I want to transmit on North America, I have to wait until the traffic on worldwide stops before I can transmit, because the repeater can't physically let me transmit. It needs that time slot. Likewise, Ontario, for example, is on time slot 2. So if I'm hearing traffic on any of the talk groups on time slot 1, I can still go to a talk group that happens to be on time slot 2 and transmit on it. And because it's on a different time slot, I can do that. The repeater is available for that as long as there's not another talk group on time slot 2 currently taking up the time slot. So the repeater is indeed capable of handling traffic from two talk groups at the same time if one talk group's on time slot 1 and the other talk group's at time slot 2. The transmitter divides the time between them very quickly. So that's how time division multiple access works. So back in the around the turn of the century, when TDMA was popular for cellular communications, it was a big improvement over the old analog cellular network, because with analog, if you had two cellular phones on one cellular tower currently in a call, you had to use two different frequencies for them. And cellular tower only has a finite number of frequencies available. If there's a lot of calls going on and all the frequencies are used up, your phone would go out of service and you wouldn't be able to make any calls. But with TDMA, two cellular phones can operate on one frequency, the cellular tower would just divide the time between them, and the users wouldn't see any difference. Very clever. So yes, while I'm sitting here on Worldwide, I may hear traffic from Worldwide, or Worldwide English, or North America, or Canada, or TAC 310, which I'll talk about later, or Audio Test, because they're all on time slot 1. But while I'm tuned to any of these talk groups on time slot 1, I won't hear anything from time slot 2. The radio can only receive one time slot at a time. So once I tune to Ontario, for example, now I'm on time slot 2, I may hear traffic from any of the talk groups on time slot 2, be it Quebec, Manitoba, Alberta, etc. And I won't hear anything from time slot 1 anymore. So that's kind of how that works. It's kind of hard for me to explain, but I think hopefully, once you understand what's going on, it's quite simple and interesting to learn about. Likewise, DMR is intelligent in such a way that if I'm tuned to Worldwide and someone's currently transmitting on Worldwide, I can't transmit. When I hit the button, the radio will just give me an error. So there's no way to do what's called a double when you have two people transmitting on the same time. That happens quite often in analog amateur radio communications. But for DMR, it can't happen. Your radio will just give you an error. Likewise, DMR is intelligent in such a way that the radio frequently does telemetry communication with the repeater. So if I actually am out of the range of the repeater and I transmit, the radio just won't blindly start transmitting RF energy. When you key up, in the span of like half a second, the radio does a quick telemetry communication with the repeater to make sure it can actually get the repeater. If the repeater doesn't respond, when I key up, the radio will just give me an error. I'll test this right now. I'm tuned to Audio Test, and I'll basically just transmit. I'll stick the antenna between my legs, which isn't good for your health, and I'll transmit, and with the antenna between my legs, the radio will not be able to communicate with the repeater. When I key up, there, so you got that error beep there. It's out of the range of the repeater. Of course, with it being digital radio, an upside is you have crystal clear audio. There's no static. That's only an analog thing. So you have crystal clear audio up until you're out of the range of the repeater, and then there's just nothing. When you start getting too far from the repeater, your audio will start sounding broken up. It sounds just like a cell phone conversation that's starting to break up, and then eventually you'll just have nothing. Oh yeah, as for what TAC 310 is, TAC 310 is a talk group that is only active when you key up on it on your particular repeater. So your particular repeater may be subscribed to TAC 310, but it will not actually connect to it until you key up on it. So TAC 310 is useful if you make contact with someone on one of the worldwide or a wide range talk groups and you want to have a long-winded personal conversation with them. You can ask them to go on to TAC 310. They'll tune into TAC 310 on their particular repeater. You'll tune into TAC 310 on your particular repeater, and you'll key up, and then you'll be able to have a conversation. TAC 310 is only active once you key up, and then once there's been no activity for 15 minutes, your repeater disconnects from it. So very useful. So I'll try my first DMR transmission here. I'll go to North America. That's where people usually go, and I'll just ask. I don't want to have a conversation, but I'll ask for a radio check. And then hopefully someone will come back and tell me if I sound all right or not. So let's try this. So on DMR, it's courtesy to announce what talk group you're on, so that because some radios, of course, don't have a display. So people, and of course because DMR radios can receive traffic from any talk group on a time slot, regardless of what talk group it's currently tuned to. Someone may not know what talk group you transmitted on. They may not have been looking at their radio when you transmitted, or they may not have a display at all. So it's courtesy to give your call sign and then say what talk group you're coming in on. Alright, so I have the radio anchored to the box here just so the antenna is vertical, so I have good signal going into the repeater. Let's transmit on North America and ask for a radio check. Victor Echo 9 Echo November on North America, looking for a radio check. See if anyone gets back to me.
Echo X-ray November 8 Mike X-ray Golf. Yeah, around here in Michigan, you sound real fine into the system. Sound real good.
I could not understand him at all. This is Victor Echo 9 Echo November. Can you come back with your call sign again, please? He didn't get my call sign right. Well, I'd say he ain't coming back to me. That was a bust. I couldn't understand a damn thing he said. I think I heard Michigan in there somewhere. Yeah, alright. To heck with that. I don't know if I'm not sure if the audio test talk group can be heard on other repeaters, like if my voice will be heard on other repeaters. But I'll try it anyhow. Victor Echo 9 Echo November on audio test, looking for a radio check. Oh.
November 8 Mike X-ray Golf, listening North America.
Oh, that's the same guy who come back to me, but I heard his call sign that time. I've forgotten it already, but I understood it that time. But his accent is so thick, I don't have faith that I could have a conversation with him without embarrassing myself. Let's go ahead and try. I've never heard anybody on the New Brunswick talk group. There's only 3 DMR repeaters in New Brunswick. But let's try it anyway. It's a local repeater. I might have a local come back to me. Somebody I've spoken to before. VE9 Echo November on New Brunswick, looking for a radio check. Looks like that might be a bust as well. Oh, I should mention, you can hear a DMR transmission with an analog amateur radio transceiver like my Yaesu FT470. You can't hear any intelligible audio, but you can hear that there's something being transmitted. DMR traffic sounds kind of like a diesel engine when you listen to it on a analog radio. So that's what it sounds like. That was somebody speaking on North America. So that's what DMR sounds like on an analog radio. Well, while we're waiting for potential traffic, I'll give a little look at the software features of the radio. Oh, by the way, this little orange button right here, that's an emergency button. It can be programmed to do different things. I've never touched it. I definitely won't, so I don't know what it exactly has been programmed to do on this radio, if anything, but could do things like broadcast a emergency alert that other radios on the network would receive, and stuff like that. So what do we got here? Zones. Well, zone is nothing DMR specific. That's just what this radio calls a set of channels. So if we go zones, we have the different DMR repeaters, VE9FTN, the repeater here, VE9DMR in Moncton, VE9SJN in St. John, W1LH in Calais, Maine, and we can go into analog mode. Let's go into analog mode. And there's some of the analog repeaters here. So I can communicate with, it's just standard analog amateur radio transmission. And I have used this radio on analog a few times. And the analog audio is very good as well. Suppose I could give you, I could just do a test transmission on, right here on VE1BM, the IRG repeater here. So what I'll do is I'll set my radio here up with my audio recorder recording from it, and just do a test transmission so you can see what the analog audio quality on this is like.
DE9 Echo November testing.
Well, I've heard a couple of transmissions in the past couple of minutes, just people saying they're listening on North America, but unfortunately, seems a lot of people on DMR, they don't use their call sign in phonetics. They just rattle it off fast, just pure letters and numbers. And I don't know, I guess they think that because it's digital radio that people can understand what they're saying first time, no phonetics needed, but that's not the case, at least not with me. When you just rattle off a series of numbers and letters, I cannot recall that. I do not understand it. So I wish people would use more phonetics. Oh, that reminds me of something. Another kind of courtesy thing for DMR is not to call CQ, because the use of DMR for making long distance contacts is not DXing, so do not use DMR to, try and DX and make a bunch of long distance contacts. Don't call CQ, that's against DMR etiquette. But it's funny because earlier today I had this thing turned on, and all of a sudden on North America comes this voice calling CQ, 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 and I'm like, what a jerk calling CQ on DMR. Well, it turned out to be for a forgivable and very cool reason. That voice was on the very first DMR repeater in Alaska. So today, as of filming this video, the very first DMR repeater in Alaska went online, and I heard the very first transmission on it, which was this person calling CQ. And a few people came in and was talking to them, congratulating them, the first DMR repeater in Alaska. I didn't bother joining them, but that was really cool to witness. I'm glad I got to hear that. Looking again at the software function of the radio, the indicators at the top here, you've got an indicator whenever you're receiving a transmission. You'll have a signal strength indicator indicating how strong of a signal you're getting from the repeater. You have your battery symbol there, battery meter. The little alarm bell there, I'm not really sure what that means. Oh, I think that probably means simply that the beep sounds and the alert tones are turned on. The little key there means whether or not the keypad is locked. It is not locked. And the little H means we're on high transmit power. If we switch to low transmit power by pressing this button, little H goes away. There's supposed to be an L in its place according to the manual, but there's certainly not in this case, so I don't know what's going on there. Contact. I'm not sure if this lets you... What's this do? Okay, yeah. One of the things about DMR is you can actually send text messages over DMR, like with cellular. But I'm not sure if it works. Like if I send a message and I'm sending it to Canada, does every radio that can receive the Canada talk group get that message? I have no clue. But there you can see it works like an old cell phone where you press the number keys and it has predictive texting. Like, hello, Hellboy. Anyway, so that's that. Oh, it gives you the talk group number there. Each talk group has a number assigned to it. And yeah, you can receive alerts that make the thing ring and stuff like that, but it's not anything I know about really. Let's go to the settings. So you got contacts again. Scan, you can set this up to scan talk groups. I've tried it. It's very fiddly to do, but it does work, but I haven't gotten it to work the way I want to. Like, I'd like this to be able to scan all the channels so that I can automatically receive talk groups from either time slot, but I haven't been able to get that to work out well. I don't think the interface for setting up scanning is very good. It's probably easier to do when you use the software. Zone is the same thing. Choose what repeater, or whether or not, or if you want the analog mode. Messages, call log. This hasn't been used for any messages or calling ever. Bluetooth, this does have Bluetooth connectivity. I think it might be to connect to a Bluetooth enabled speaker mic or headset or something like that. Job tickets, this is, a corporate thing if, yeah. I think probably if you were to receive a special type of message that gives you like a job to do if this were used in a business. Notifications, list empty. Utilities, radio info, battery info, Impress battery, 37% capacity remaining, first use 30th of August 2016. We have 100% service life left still because it's a new battery. Go back. My ID, this gives the call sign of the person and their unique subscriber ID, so I'm not going to show that. Yeah, when you get a DMR radio, you have to actually sign up for DMR-MARC usage, or else you risk, being, I don't know if it's grounds for prosecution or what, but if you want to use the DMR-MARC network, you go to the DMR-MARC website and you apply to have a unique subscriber ID, which is then programmed into the radio. So when you transmit, your subscriber ID is transmitted, then you can access the network. Perhaps you can't access the network unless you have a subscriber ID. Perhaps the repeaters know that. Versions, firmware version, CP version. Fair enough. Software update, last updated September 6th. So that's that. Radio settings. Talkaround, from what I read, Talkaround is a feature that lets you use the radio for radio-to-radio direct communication rather than a repeater. And it does that by having you transmit on the output frequency of the repeater. That's what I read anyway. I'm not really sure if it's like that. Tones and alert. The ring tone. What kind of ringtones do we have? That was fun. Messages. Same thing. Cool. And telemetry. Keypad tone. Volume offset, so you can actually adjust, you can actually make the volume quieter or louder up to -25 or +25 dB. Just, to suit your taste. Like if you were really hard of hearing, you could set this to a really high volume, like watch how the beep gets louder. And then you don't have to turn the volume knob up as high to be able to hear clearly. So that's how that works. And, go back. Power up sound. The little beep it makes when you turn it on. Display, day mode or night mode. That's what night mode looks like. Bit easier on the eyes. Brightness. Oh, it affects the keypad backlighting too. That's very nice. Very nice. And one tick up makes it very, very dim, which would be very nice for using in pitch black darkness at night. So if I wanted to lay here in bed at night, getting ready to go to sleep, listen to DMR, I can have it really dim. Won't hurt my eyes or keep me from eventually falling asleep. Very nice. Oops. Didn't mean to do that. Backlight auto, backlight timer. You have times between 5 seconds, a minute, where you can have it on all the time, as I set earlier in the video. Menu timer, how long before the menu goes back to the home screen. And the intro screen. Keypad lock, language, LED indicator, that's up here. The indicator does different things depending on what's going on. It blinks red or green or orange depending on what's going on, but in normal use you're only ever going to see it blink green when you're either receiving or transmitting. Voice announce. I don't know what this is. I've never heard a voice speak, even though it's enabled. Mic automatic gain control. DMR-MARC recommends that you actually have it disabled on your radio, so it's been disabled. Mic distortion, I assume that doesn't mean it enables distortion purposely, but I assume that means it prevents distortion somehow. Intelligent audio, I'm not sure what that is, probably some sort of digital processing. AF suppressor, don't know what that is. Noise suppress. Audio ambience, this is kind of like a like a sound profile for a particular place you were using the radio in. Audio profiles. Text entry. Word predict. Word correct. Sentence cap. And that's your settings. And you probably get a lot more, but you need to use the software to set those things. So there's the software overview of this radio. I just thought of something. Remember the guy in Michigan when I called out and he came back to me, but he got my call sign wrong? I just remembered something. Some DMR radios, not Motorola's, but others, can actually display the call sign of the person who's transmitting. The owner of this radio has his call sign programmed into it. It's not my call sign. So, thinking back now, I think the guy in Michigan rattled off the owner's call sign of the owner of this radio, not my call sign. So that's where the confusion happened. He was seeing another call sign when I was using my own. That's very interesting. I wonder if... I'll have to talk to him about it.
TK4U, UGK9SDN, North America.
I'm wondering if perhaps I should be using this radio under his call sign and not my own to alleviate any confusion. I don't know, but it's certainly something something to think about. I think that's what happened though. That's quite interesting. Alright, it's the next day. It's 6 o'clock in the evening. I'm not hearing any traffic right now, but I figure I've got a better chance of someone coming back to me anyway. So I'm sitting here on North America. I'll
K28BY and 2BJ on North America's.
I can't understand anyone's call sign. My hearing's poor and my ability to understand... Well, my hearing's not as bad as my ability to simply understand what people are saying is bad. So they rattle off their call sign without phonetics, and I don't really understand what they said. I heard KB2. I'll call out anyway. I'm just going to ask for a radio check. Victor Echo 9 Echo November on North America, looking for a radio check.
Sound good out here in Illinois and 2BJ.
It's WD, Northwest New Jersey.
I accidentally tried coming back when that second guy come in there. He said I sounded good, so that's fine. That's it's good enough for me. That second guy come in, I don't know if he was replying to me because I couldn't hear him because I had the push to talk held in, or if he was just throwing out his call sign. But anyway, there you go. There it was my first successful DMR transmission, I guess. I'm very antisocial even on the radio, so especially when I can't understand what they're saying, I'm not inclined to come back to someone unless, you know, it's very clear that they're waiting for me to respond to them. But there you go. There's a little DMR transmission there. There it just said low battery. The battery's starting to run down, which is good. This thing's actually still on its very first charge cycle since it was purchased, if I remember correctly. So I'll let it run all the way down and then charge it back up before I give it back to its owner tomorrow. But before we end this video, I'm going to go into analog mode. The IRG net's is going to start in 20 minutes or so. So when that comes on, I'll film a bit of that just so you can hear what its analog reception quality is like.
Calling all stations to the IRG net. The International Repeater Group meets each Sunday evening at 9 p.m. Atlantic Time on the IRG radio network, which covers the areas of the Maritime provinces, Quebec, and the state of Maine. Is there any emergency or priority traffic? Over. Very good evening to you, Rick. Please go ahead with your announcement.
And good
Good evening to you, Al, and everybody else on the net tonight. Thanks for taking up the net tonight. Just want to remind everyone that the IRG Weather Net starts again tomorrow morning, October 31st, 7:30 a.m. every morning.
Well, there you go. There's a little introduction to DMR radio and a little overview, review, whatever, of the Motorola Moto Turbo XPR 7550 portable DMR transceiver. Yeah, I think DMR's pretty darn neat in how it works. As for if I will pick it up in the future, possibly. I find it quite interesting. The only thing stopping me would be the actual purchase of a radio. I don't think I'd ever buy one of these Motorola transceivers. It's not even the cost of them that's prohibitive, because you get a really good radio for the money, but it's just all the crap you have to go through to programming them. Either paying like $400 a year to get access to Motorola's programming software, or paying a third-party business to do it for you. But knowing those TYT MD380 radios are only $90 shipped on eBay, that's a really, really good deal. That's something I could buy on like a Christmas budget. So I may do that in the future. I may not, because I'm not terribly confident that I'd make a lot of use of DMR, but it's definitely something I would consider picking up in the future. So there you go, folks. I hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you very much for watching, and I will see you next time.